What is going on, guys? I'm back on the mic today from Spectral Sound, and today we are going to be recreating a certain pluck bass from the song Internet Legion by Who Came After. Here's a piece of it, and then my recreation afterward. Alright, now before I start this video, don't tell me that I'm copying Shane for wearing a hat. It's not Shane's thing to wear a hat. I can just wear a hat now because I don't have to wear headphones. Because I got a handy little mic right here. This handy dandy little clip-on mic that is attached to a handheld recorder versus going into my computer, so it'll make it a lot easier to edit. I don't have to wear headphones. I can use my speakers, and it'll just be a lot more comfortable. Alright, this is the sound without the kick or the hi-hat. And this is it without the sub or post-processing. Really, just when I do post-processing in these videos, it's mainly just to make it match the original song, to match the general mix of the original song. Most of the time, it doesn't affect the sound unless I'm using like a lot of compression or a ton of distortion or vocoder or something. In this situation, all it's doing is making it stronger and to match the original song along with the drums. Alright, so let's flip off the sub and get right into the Serum patch. We're going to start out with Oscillator B this time because we're doing an FM. So choose the basic shapes, just have it on a sine wave and bump it down 2 octaves so we get this really low sound. That's nothing so far. So we're going to be modulating the level with LFO 1, 0%, going up 75. And we're also going to be modulating the FM from A right here. So that's going to be 30% and it's going to be going up 20. For LFO 1, you're just going to create this kind of plucky shape. And what this is doing, it starts the pluck, right as you hold the note, it starts directly on beat. And then it'll have a little bit of a rise up there going into the next beat. So it sounds like it's doing something like this. It sounds like it's doing that kind of thing, but it doesn't have that short little rise up at the beginning that makes it a little offbeat. That's all that I was doing right here. So just make a shape similar to this. Go and put it on 1/16 and throw it on trigger and you should be good. Turn the phase and the random to 0. That'll make sure with the FM that it stays exactly the same each time you play a note. It won't change around. Now flip on Oscillator A and turn the level all the way down because we're FMing. This is actually a wavetable that I made. The wavetable link will be down in the description so you can download that and recreate it if you want, or you can just download the preset, which is also in the description. That would be a little bit easier so you can kind of follow along, see what I'm saying here. All right, turn this down, or no, not down, turn it up 1 octave, and the wavetable position is going from 1 up to 42, so just this first part of the wavetable there. I also threw a little bit of mirror on it. The mirror is going from 100% going down -26, and this just adds a lot more of a higher pitch, like you can hear when I turn this off and there's no warping. And now if I turn the mirror back on, it sounds like this. It just gives it a little bit higher of a tone and makes it a little more crunchy. Again, turn the phase down to 0 and the random all the way down to 0, so we're getting the exact same sound each time we play it. Flip on the noise oscillator. This is going to be a bright white. We're just mixing it a little bit here with LFO 1. It's going from 0 up to 11%. And that's going to come out more in the multiband compression. It's going to really bring out the white noise a little bit more. So if you don't hear anything right now, that's okay. That's normal. Now flip on the sub oscillator. We're actually going to use just a square wave for this. Turn it down 2 octaves, hit on square wave, and then turn the level from 0 up to 75 with LFO 1. And that's going to just give the sound a lot more richness, a lot more thickness. It's going to make it a lot more powerful. All right, now flip on a filter. We are going to be using a high-pass peak filter for this one. Both A and B are running through. I guess we don't need Oscillator A running through because it's not outputting sound, but just make sure that Oscillator B is running through the filter. Otherwise, no sound will be outputted. So the cutoff is from 8 Hertz, that's all the way down, modulating up 41 with LFO 1 here. The resonance is also modulating from 8% up 46 with LFO 1. So we're getting the classic kind of high pass movement, modulating the resonance so we don't get too much weird peakage right here. I'm not actually doing anything with the frequency on this one. I was going to do stuff with the frequency, however, of this, the peak filter. However, it didn't sound as good as I thought it would, so I just left it out. And you can turn the mix down to 93%, just turn it down a little bit so we're not cutting out all of the low frequencies for this filter. Now this is what you should have before going into the effects. One thing I do want to mention here, I did throw a macro on this controlling the vowel, and I set it to this cutoff here. It's going up 25. So you can kind of control how high or low the vowel is at this point. And I'm going to do more stuff with that when I go into the filter. There's a couple more things added, and I'll go over that at the end. But just keep in mind that that's up a little bit. So if you get a slightly different sound, it's what's supposed to happen. That's normal because I put that on there. All right, the first effect is a hyper dimension. We're going to turn the mix up to 30%. I didn't mess with any of these. The size is going down to 0, and the mix is at 50. It's pretty basic hyper dimension settings right there. Just spreads it out a little more, makes it a little more wide. And then the multiband compression. I have it down -9 for the threshold, and all of these should be the same, no gain. And the mix is at 100. For these bands, the high is at 100, the mid is at 157. So I brought it up just a little bit there. And then the low is also at 100. So just bring up the mid a bit to get a more even tone. There we are, that's sounding really good. All right, let's throw on the EQ. For this first side, we have a pass EQ, which is, in this case, it's a high pass. The frequency is at 22 hertz, that's all the way down, going up 14. And the Q factor is at 40%, going up 21. So we're getting just more high pass action right here. All right, that's sounding really good. Now let's throw on an EQ. We have a high pass EQ for this side right here. The frequency is at 22, going up 36, and the Q factor is at 40%. And this is where I added the other things to this vowel macro knob. With the macro, the frequency is going up 14, and the Q factor is going up 21. So just a little more modulation there in the lower vowel area. And then for this side of the EQ, we have just a shelf. I brought the gain down to -6.1, and the frequency is at 7898, somewhere around those high frequencies, because there were some really high noisy frequencies in there that I wanted to get rid of after the multiband compression. And then the Q factor is just at 50%. Now this is what we have. All right, that helped a lot with the overall pluckiness of the sound. It gave it a lot more attack and a little more snap. So lastly, let's throw on a little bit of reverb. I have the plate reverb for this one. The size is all the way down. The pre-delay is also all the way down. The low cut is at 27 and the high cut is at 30. So that's just about the tightest. That is the tightest like reverb you can have for the plate. The damp is at 28 and I turn the width all the way up so we get a full stereo image of the reverb. The mix is, I just mixed it in at around 20%, so we're getting a little bit of room in there, but not too much. Now this is what we have. Time for a little bit of effects. Now the first effect I have here is just an EQ. I'm cutting out the high end around, let's see, where is that? I'm cutting out, it doesn't even tell me. Why doesn't it tell me? What is this? Aha, beautiful. I'm cutting it out at around 14, this is 14864. I'm just cutting out the very, very high end, which is how it sounded in the original track. I'm trying to just emulate that there. But we will get more high end in the end because it's going to go through distortion. I'm also cutting out the sub below 90 hertz. I'm just cutting all that out because we had the extra sub bass in there. And then we have the wave shaper where we are distorting this a lot. If you just create a point, and it should look like that, just create a point and drag it up to around there. That'll be fine, and that's like acting as a really harsh hard clip distortion, and that's going to sound it's going to give it a lot more attack and just overall harshness. There we are, that sounds very good. Pair it with the sub, some drums, and a little pitch bend, and we have our sound. All right, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like. Tell me what you thought of the recreation in the comment section below. Like I said, the link to download this preset will be in the description along with the wavetable. I actually really like the wavetable. Like, I'm kind of surprised I'm giving this away. Like, I've made some super awesome sound design with like just that wavetable. It's really cool. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace out.